One of the biggest and most common mistakes that car owners make is something we call misfueling. So, what is misfueling? A situation where someone accidentally or intentionally, for whatever reason, puts petrol in a diesel car or puts diesel in a petrol car. Now, how the misfueling affects the engine or the car varies in accordance to the systems that are in that car. How are petrol cars or petrol engines different from diesel engines? Petrol engines are spark ignition. That means they use, of course, spark plugs. And petrol, like you know, it's quite volatile. It's light and it's not as thick as we see with the diesels. Diesels, however, they are compression ignition engines. So they actually work more under compression and they don't need that spark to burn it, but rather heat and the pressure that works out. Now that explains why diesel as the fuel is actually thick and it's kind of oily in its surfaces. Now, when you get yourself in a situation of misfueling, let's start with you have put diesel in a petrol car. The moment you put diesel in a petrol car, it may not be as damaging as putting petrol in a diesel car. However, remember, diesel being the thicker components, definitely is going to clog a number of your components like your fuel filter. It's going to clog your fuel injector, and it's going to cause issues of stalling. Your car may not even start, especially if you put a lot of diesel. And in case it starts, it runs, but it will have misfires along the line, until eventually you start hearing a number of knocking sounds or you start seeing a bit of smoke. Actually, you see a lot of smoke in your exhaust. Now, let's go to where you put petrol in a diesel car. Diesel engines are compression ignition engines. So that means that the system is actually running on a higher pressure and it needs a lot more components. Petrol is light, diesel is thick. So when you get your petrol and you pour it in your diesel tank, you're actually watering down the thickness or the lubricating factor of that diesel oil or that diesel fuel. What happens is the moment you choose to start your car, your fuel pump will of course pump in the fuel. Because it's light and yet this system is designed to work under high pressure, it's going to have the metal surfaces, because they're not being lubricated, to actually rub against each other. That's when you have catastrophic failures of your high pressure pump, of your, of course, the piezo injectors. They will of course fail because now a lot of metal components are getting rubbed and moved, and they'll get clogged into your diesel system. So what do you do in case you get yourself to a fuel station and you realize that you've misfueled? Stop. Don't even attempt to start the car. Best thing to do, just have it towed, pushed aside, and you have the entire fuel tank drained. In case you've already started your engine and it clicks to your mind that you've done it, switch it off immediately. In case you realize that you actually misfueled, you put petrol in your diesel car and you drove and it has got yourself to a point it has actually stopped, definitely know you're in for it, because that's where now you're into the trap of costs, which may get you to the extent of replacing your entire engine. However, it doesn't just go with replacing your engine. You will find yourself, of course, you will need to clean your fuel line going back down to the tank. Now, when it comes to mixing your diesel in a petrol car, it's always advised that you drain out everything that is there, and then you fill your tank, and then you add additional fuel additives that can help to break it down even better. Things you need to do to save you from misfueling. When you get to a fuel station, pay attention. Don't assume. Don't be in a rush. Be alert. Inform the attendant that indeed your car is a petrol car or indeed it is a diesel car. If you're not sure, call the owner of the car and let them know that you're at a fuel station and need to add fuel. Be sure, especially if you borrow a car. Ask to be sure whether it's diesel or petrol. Rule of thumb is that nozzles for petrol, normally they're green in color. According to the different regions, you find the nozzles for the diesel are normally black or yellow. However, also from design, nozzles for diesel doesn't easily fit in the nozzles for petrols. Yet, unfortunately, the nozzle for the petrol, surprisingly, easily fits into that of the diesel. So you need to be quite alert, and you have all this information before you actually get yourself into fueling at the station. Another way of avoiding misfueling is to ensure that your fuel cup has a sticker that clearly specifies whether it's petrol or diesel. It will ease most of the work for the pump attendant. Like I mentioned, if you realize that you've done it, the mistake has happened already, don't start your engine. In case you've started and it clicks to your mind that it has happened, switch off immediately and never start it again. Get yourself to a workshop, have the car towed. In case you're driving and it actually went off by itself or the engine goes off by itself, we just pray that it's not getting into the millions of shillings that you will of course have to spend in repairs, and that the grace will be sufficient for you to meet the entire repair bill.